Stephen Colbert's Late Show is dead, and his late-night friends and a lot of Democrats, but I repeat myself, are screaming Trump censorship, authoritarianism, the end of comedy.
As you know, there are some countries whose leaders don't support free speech. I'm not at liberty to say which. Let's just leave it at North Korea and CBS. Fortunately,
wait a second, Jimmy Kimmel. Stephen Colbert's show was bleeding $40 million a year. The parent company, CBS, called it a purely financial decision to end his show. Ratings were down, and late-night television has been struggling for a long time. The show wasn't canceled because Trump couldn't tolerate a TV personality who criticized him and made at least half his content about bashing Republicans and Trump. It was canceled because it was a financial liability, and Colbert's obsession with politics just proved that he was uninterested in expanding to new audiences. Jimmy Kimmel had the same penchant for left-wing pontificating, and it got him into trouble with his company, ABC, which has to protect its image when its personalities say insane, inaccurate things.
we hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from.
Colbert responded in defense of his friend, making the exact same false argument that their respective networks just hate the First Amendment.
Listen up. In light of Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, ABC's parent company's Walt Disney Corporation has a little message for all the employees. Shut your trap. Shut your trap. We're warning you to cut the crap.
Right after Colbert's final episode, the official Twitter account of the Democratic Party tweeted, "Thank you, Stephen Colbert," followed by pictures of Colbert interviewing Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and Joe Biden. They said the quiet part out loud. Colbert disproportionately platformed Democrats. The Media Research Center found that since late 2022, more than 90% of political guests on late night were left-wing. Last year, 99% of all late-night political guests were left-wing, while 92% of jokes attacked Republicans. That was Stephen Colbert during the pandemic dancing with Chuck Schumer. It wasn't just that he gave airtime to Democrats to critically challenge them. He was friends with them outside late night. They were buds. The left-wing meltdown to Colbert getting canned just proved what we've known all along. Democrats didn't love Colbert because he was funny. They loved him because he was their unpaid super PAC. It was basically programming for the Democratic National Convention. Before 2020, Colbert's show put out a skit peddling the Democratic claim that the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian misinformation. It later turned out to be 100% true.
Bring it up on Hunter's laptop down on a Tennessee stage. Rumors from Trump's rabid laptop put him back in his cage. Debunk claims of made-up compromised black came from the Russians.
And he felt the need to patronize Americans about the moral obligation of taking the COVID vaccine that ended up not doing a dang thing to prevent the spread of the virus. Because that's what late night is all about.
The vaccine.
So for one of his last hurrahs on the network just a couple weeks ago, Stephen Colbert assembles his other late night buddies, which someone commented and said it's like the Avengers for old people like me, and asks each of them to make the affirmative case for late night TV. They scrambled to find the words.
Why should you have to defend late night? I mean, why should that question even be asked? You don't hear, like, Ryan Seacrest doesn't get asked that question about the Wheel of Fortune or whatever the hell he's hosting.
Yes, late night TV is a subjective comedic art, but you have an employer, which has a bottom line, which has customers. Sometimes you do have to defend the value of your product, but the late night hosts dug themselves a deeper hole.
Before.
Yeah. Well, if I would make my case for late night, it's that, you know,
Weirdly,
leaders of the free world are watching it when it airs.
Yeah. He would be the only person who I would like just to go the to sleep, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not a single one of the furious late night five said their reason for being was comedy. They never used that word. And yet Colbert's cronies have accused Trump of using the government to influence the removal of the show. He was, after all, one of Trump's most vocal critics. The likes of Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders think ending The Late Show was a sinister plot by spineless corporate executives who didn't want to irritate Trump and desperately wanted the Federal Communications Commission to approve the merger of CBS parent company Paramount Global with Skydance Media. So they believe CBS kicked out Colbert to appease Trump and get the merger rubber-stamped. But it might have just come down to math. Colbert made a $20 million per year salary. But even if he worked for free, the show would still be unprofitable because CBS was losing, again, $40 million each year on the show. According to Reuters in 2025, the show's ad revenue plummeted to $70.2 million last year from $121.1 million in 2018, according to ad tracking firm Guideline. If a show's ad revenue gets nearly cut in half over a 6-year period, that seems like a serious problem and an indication that it wasn't a one-year slide. It was a consistent theme of decline. Not as many people watch late night TV anymore. YouTube has taken that over, social media. There's no sign that the trend's gonna reverse. But Colbert condemning Trump so regularly, maybe alienating roughly half the potential audience for the show, did not help the situation. Maybe that's why his buddy shows have so far survived, whereas his has not. Colbert was elitist. His content was of a pious worldview meant for self-congratulatory liberals. He put ideology above humor. He never represented the whole of America, and it's clear he never even wanted to try. It was cringe and it was lame. How many consecutive years did the creators of The Late Show think that CBS could stomach of hemorrhaging $40 million a year? Even if Colbert's $20 million a year salary wasn't the only expense making the show not profitable, how much longer did he think CBS could continue paying him that huge chunk of money like he's this massive megastar if his show's advertising revenue kept declining? It wasn't retaliation by the Trump administration, some huge vendetta conspiracy. It wasn't censorship. It was math in business.